Previously on TMVCU, Sean Garrus admitted he was one of 9 seers from a different universe here to protect the Earth. We rejoined 100-100T Thieves roster after their exit from Valorant Champs. It was only a short drive to the nearest airport for the 100-100T Thieves roster. They packed their things and returned to their homeland. Whilst on the flight there, Brendan Stella McGrath was sitting next to his coach Sean Garrus when he noticed a tattoo on his coach's arm. Is that the Cloud9 logo on your arm, from when you used to play for them? Oh, haha, yes. Well, I suppose I should tell you the true meaning of this logo now, said the coach. This is not just Cloud9. As I told you, I am one of 9 seers. But there are also 9 prophets and 9 demons in this world. That is what this symbol represents, as an ever-present reminder of my duty. 9 demons? Stella asked. You're on top of that, I hope. Well, we know who some of them are. Others are yet to reveal themselves. But there is one who is very close to home, and very brazen about showing off his unnatural powers. Who? Asked the entire team in unison once more. As it turns out, everyone was listening in. You know who, replied the coach. So yes, today we are going to talk about Optic versus Team Liquid on Ascent. And this game to me came down to 3 big factors that we will see in this game, and we will see in some of the clips. One was Ye, as I mentioned in kind of the intro there. He was just insane by even Ye's standards, and I think he's just clearly the best player in the world, and I think, everyone will know that Ye is the best player in the world by the end of this tournament, 100%. The second thing to me was also FNS, or Optic in general, you might say, having insane mid-round calling, particularly when it's like a 4v4 or a 3v3. Optic are insanely good in those situations, and that proved itself as well, as we will again see in some of the clips. And then the third thing for me was Liquid misplaying strategically the game. And what I mean by that is the way that they played in a very aggressive style where they would often be fighting for kind of, the in-between spaces, right? Like, in between the barrier spaces, they were coming in mid, they were fighting in these areas pretty heavy, and often it would lead to, Ye being in 1v1 duels, something that Ye would win. And so, Optic would have an advantage, or you'd end up in a 4v4 or a 3v3 kind of situation if, the trades went back and forth. And as I said, Optic are really good in those situations, but if you watch Optic on this map with this comp in some of their games prior, they have majorly struggled on the attack side. And we're mostly going to focus on the attack side. And the reason they struggle with this comp is their executes onto site aren't great with this comp. They struggle pretty heavily. But because Liquid were playing so aggressively, I went through all of the rounds and just quickly checked. And yes, Optic only had to actually 5-man execute onto a site, where everyone is alive and Optic execute onto the site. Only happened twice in this entire half. Because Liquid were playing so aggressively and they wanted to fight for all of these spaces all of the time, and it didn't work, and it allowed Optic to thrive because they thrive in those situations. So to me, Liquid got it wrong as well, and we'll see that. And this is actually one of those 2 rounds they did execute onto the site with everyone still alive, and it's round 3. It is the bonus. But the thing is, the difference is here, of course, they have a KO ult, and having a KO ult makes it just a lot easier to just run it down on site because there's no utility to stop you. So let's take a look at this round then, shall we? So it starts off here and they just go for it, right? They've been farming ult orbs onto Victor on the KO there, and you see we shoot the dart towards the back site. In comes a Prowler, straight away the popular KO, and they get it onto site nice and early. Screaming Yappy already at the back site, but there's no one there to challenge them. It's just these 2 who are now in onto the site, so Victor's able to get deep, and now straight away we're in a pretty good position already for Optic, right? People have got out onto the site. That's kind of the first thing, right? They're past the choke point already. They've got pressure coming down lane. They've got pressure coming down the stairs in just a second as well, right? So everything is kind of set up pretty well. As you can see, only Soulcast is here in terms of the rotates as well. The other 2 players still waiting to see exactly what happens, hoping that these 2 can kind of, solidify it. But a great seize comes in. Great flash as well from Victor, and they find that first kill. Now, Yampy will pick off Victor on the site just there. But now, obviously, knowing his position, they swing swing together. As you can see, good swinging from Optic there, and they managed to get the trade. And then Soulcast, as we just see, he was at the backside here. He decides to try and pick a timing. Unfortunately, his timing is off, and he basically just, runs into Crashies there, who gets pretty much a free kill, and we quickly end up in a 3v2. So everything kind of went pretty well here for Optic. They got in onto the site pretty quickly. We end up in this 3v2. They still have a drone available, right? They didn't even have to use all of their utility to get in here. They all just flooded the site. They came in, they traded well, they got deep. Everything went right pretty much for them on this execute with the KO ult as well. Maybe again, Liquid, you could say, didn't seem fully prepared for the fact that KO ult was coming in. They were very deep in onto the site, right? Normally with a KO ult, you see a bit more of a retake. Navera does manage to get one, but yeah, actually, who was hitting shots, as I mentioned the whole time, just manages to get that kill, and Navera actually goes and has to save down on 30 HP in a 2v1. Now let's come to round number 4, and one thing as well that Optic were able to gain, I think, a slight advantage from was the fact that on, a few of these save rounds, and, quite a few teams do this, but Yampy wasn't buying a trap here for the chamber on these kind of save rounds, right? And that's not necessarily a big problem in and of itself, but against a team like Optic, you aren't going to win a lot of those rounds then, because they will abuse that fact and they will find gaps like they did in this game. So let's take a look at this round. So we still have Navera with his saved rifle here, and you'll see that they start farming KO orbs again there with Victor, right? Straight away, a flash comes out towards A main. Looks like there's going to be some A main pressure, and then Navera is just going to take a random time and swing. Now, actually, I don't mind that too much, because he's the one with the rifle. He's just looking for a fight, hoping that he can win it. It's kind of his job at that point, because he is the one with the rifle. Unfortunately, Ye, as I mentioned, was feeling it, so they don't do that. But this is really, as I mentioned, as soon as you go down a man, even if Optic go down a man as well, and we end up in a 4v4 or whatever, they will find gaps. And as I said, if Yampy's not going to buy a trap every round and put it down every round, and instead buy 2 bullets, Optic will abuse that fact, right? They start with some pressure again towards A that holds these two here. Prowler comes in towards B main, sees absolutely nothing, so they're gonna again fake even more towards this A site with the haunt and the drone. But you can see the spike is already rotating off as Marv gives the information that the Prowler didn't see him, so they just go for a big kind of fake. And Ye, you can see already, is walking all the way down mid, and they were abusing this fact essentially, that there was no trap there, and so Ye is gonna be able to pick off Scream, who is the one who picked up the gun, for absolutely free. And it also helped that Ye was hitting every shot, as we will see soon enough as well. So they come towards B, but then actually they realize, oh, they're all rotating towards B because Ye has heard it. Ye just finds another kill because he's Ye, and they start to come in towards the A site instead. They flip the map again, as they just, try to go towards the site with no one there. Now, there was maybe some danger in this map that if, they were just let someone die and Dima could somehow live, they might have lost that on time, but Optic do manage to find it, and Ye ends up with a 4K. And now let's come to round number 5, and this one's actually going to start off pretty well for Team Liquid here, because they're going to find the first kill on Ye. Yampy's going to peek in mid with an op, and he's going to manage to find Ye just there and get the first kill. However, what we're going to get here is you've got Victor going for the ult orb here, and this is what they'd done before. As I mentioned, they were getting those ult orbs onto Victor as often as they could, and so what Liquid are going to do is, although Navera is suppressed, as you can see, the Omen isn't Dima here, and so he's going to send in this Omen flash. The problem is, Liquid had already done this before, the round prior, and so Optic know that, right? They know that this is coming. They expect it at this point, and so Crashies has ran, ahead of this essentially, and he's going to manage to beat the Omen Flash. So Navera's going to swing out here, and he's going to be made to look a bit of a fool because, Crashies is just going to take his head off, and he looks stupid, right? And I think, Optic are a team where, as soon as they see you do something, they're going to prepare for it. Now, Crashies does perhaps get, a little overeager and goes in himself and actually dies there as well. So we actually end up in a 4v3. What's more is, in a second, Yampy's about to pick off Marv in mid as well. So we end up in a 4v2. But at this point, they're going to, we're going to see some FNS magic in here as well as he manages to kill Dima on the site. We're in this 4v2. I would say, maybe they shouldn't be fighting as much here as they, and Scream eventually, agrees and sort of stops fighting and waits for the rotates. But this is where FNS comes in, right? Because instead of just staying on the site and planting the spike, they're like, we're in a 2v3. let's go for a kill instead, right? Let's try and catch them off guard. They both walk up towards the window there, and yeah, they catch off Soulcast in the rotate, and then we end up in a weird position, right? And they try to get all the way down towards B instead. Great trade from Victor. I mean, he did get tagged by the op, you know, maybe a bit unlucky that it wasn't a full collab, but we end up in this position instead where it's a 1v1, right? And but what's crucially going to happen here is that Scream has just gone and got the ult orb here, right? And he's got his ult from it. Now, that obviously gives Victor pretty good information, because obviously the rest of his team can see, oh, the Phoenix just got his ult, he's by the ult orb. So you see that Victor, initially it looks like he wants to go check on, you know, what's going on there, but he has pretty good information that Scream, you know, is likely to either come through mid here, or he's going to come all the way around like he did here. So Victor picks up this position, right? Knowing that Scream is likely to ult. If he comes around here, you know, he should be good. If he comes down here, well, then it's just the 1v1 gunfight, right? So really good positioning by Victor, and obviously he gets rewarded as Scream goes for his ult, looks for him deep on site, doesn't see him. Victor sees where the ult comes from, and well, the rest is history here as Scream, his ult runs out, and Victor knifes him. And now let's come to round number 7, and this one I don't think is going to go Optic's way to start off with. They pop the KO ult, and I think they want to go in, but they get suppressed themselves. And they get seized as well on Victor. I'm not quite sure if this Phoenix Molly missed or not, but obviously it didn't really do much in the end. They sent in the Fade ult as well, and they really look like they do want to go in here, but you know, unfortunately for them, they've been stopped essentially, and so they have to kind of reset and see what else is going on. And we got Ye here in mid. He's going to destroy the trap, and you know, Dima's going to take a little look at what's going on, and then we're going to, you know, reset, and Optic are going to poke and prod and see what they can find. You know, the drone comes in towards mid as well. One way goes up from Dima in response, but we're about to get Navarre and Victor. Well, this is a bit unlucky for Navarre, I guess, because, you know, both of them just flash at the right time, and he ends up losing the fight. But Scream is there, able to trade it, so we end up in this 4v4. And again, you know, as I said, Optic are really, really good in these 4v4 situations, right? They kind of know what they're doing. But again, we're going to see Liquid, you know, Dima here. He's going to try and duel Ye. And in this game, anyone who tried that, that's how it ended up, right? And so we end up in a 4v3. But I love here the kind of diligence that Optic show, that, you know, they really were clearly thinking here, right? As they just pause again and, you know, figure out. And you're going to see that, look, they start pinging on the map here like, oh, there could be someone in wine. And we don't really have much, you know, to deal with that if there is. You know, if we get pinched from two sides here, we could be in a lot of trouble, and we'd have no information about that site. So what goes on is they actually are going to send a Sova ult in here, right? Just to make sure no one is there, right? And obviously the Sova ult, they send 2 pulses out, it doesn't hit anyone, and then they start to come in onto the site. Now Marv, Yampy misses a shot, maybe uncharacteristically, but then he gets hit by the Sova ult and then gets taken out. But whilst that's going on as well, and we get the Fade Hunt in on site, and Soulcast is trying to, you know, make a difference, FNS is always sneaked up towards the window as well, and he's going to find a free kill on Soulcast there as he's trying to pick off Ye. And we end up in this 4v1, and this was clinical, right? And this was Optic at their, like, very best. Like, everything is very purposeful, and everything is very structured. Ye's winning every fight he's taking part of, and they're just moving around the map like a little chessboard, and, you know, they're Magnus Carlsen, and you're a 5-year-old kid who doesn't know what's going on. But then as we take a look at our final round, round number 10 here, what's annoying for Liquid, and this is going to be the first round that they win, they're going to win a flawless thrifty round, and they're going to do it off the back from just not challenging for once and just letting Optic try and execute onto a site, as we will see. And Optic are going to go in, they're going to get the KO orb, and they're going to, you know, try and execute onto the site. And as I said, Liquid are going to win a flawless thrifty. And to me, as I said, there was a big problem with the way that they approached this map against this particular opponent, as we get a battle for A main, and the dart comes in, and the knives come in, and Victor does end up with his ult. They are going to try and just execute onto a site here, Optic, and it's going to fail, because that's where they kind of struggle on this map. You know, that's where they aren't that good on this map, when, you know, they group up as a 4 and just try and go in onto a site. You know, I've watched them against, you know, teams like XSET, you know, for qualifying for Copenhagen, where, you know, they're winning like 1-2 rounds on attack because they can't do it, because XSET, you know, they just keep trying to bash their head into a wall. But Liquid just weren't ever, you know, making them do that, right? Liquid are always challenging for all of the space, and it just wasn't working. And so what you're going to see here is in this round of Optic are going to, you know, group up, and they're going to just go for a big exec, right? And they don't have a duelist, so there is no extra space creation. You know that they're all, you know, coming from this space. And I mean, for Optic, really, I mean, they tried everything else and it worked, so I can't blame them really for trying this as well. But they pop the KO ult, in comes the Fade Haunt, in comes an Astra ult as well. But Soulcast manages to find Ye, and now, you know, in comes Navera through the smoke. He times it pretty well here. Dima's, living on the back site. No one's keeping an eye on Navera. He managed to get 3 kills. Don't get me wrong, it's nice shots from Liquid, but that's what they're known for, nice shots. That's like a Liquid, standard part of their game. But yeah, tactically, I think they finally just let them say, okay, we'll just defend the choke point this time, and it worked, as you see there, and that to me was a bit of a misplay from Liquid. Had they been watching Optic with this comp on this map, you know I knew that they can't really do that. So if you kind of can force them to do that, right, and force them to, perhaps, try those things a bit more, you will, find a lot of success for Liquid. But, unfortunately for them, it wasn't to be. And, despite a fake comeback towards the end, as Liquid, would start to gain some momentum on the attack side, eventually Optic would close it out and win this game pretty comfortably.